Hang in
Dude,
there. It
that
is.
Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. Got my man Tony Ruggiero over there with a nice glass of wine. What are we drinking tonight, T?
Just a little cab. I think Yvonne picked it up from Costco, but it's a good one. Grilled a little steak tonight, kind of preparing for this. So good. I actually did a little video work for you, too, while I was sitting over there on the couch checking the Saints score. I had to change hats. I couldn't wear Saints hat tonight after this
That's
beat.
fair. Yeah, the Saints have been. It's the Aints. They're back. The Aints are back.
We're
the
back.
paper bag wearing to the head, wearing on top of the head to the football games. The Saints
How
just ain't
bad?
quite it.
It's embarrassing. Yeah.
But you never know. I like the coach. They can turn it around. They just need to find a quarterback. We'll see if that Shaw guy, did he play today?
Yeah, they did put him in at the end.
He any good?
Yeah. I mean, what I saw in preseason, he looked pretty good. But heck, you heard defensive coordinators last week talk about how good Rattler looked playing against him. I mean, to me, and this is my last
Here we
call,
go.
but there's not a bigger Cam Jordan fan than me, right? But we're so old on the defense, and we've got to do something and our offensive line's horrible. You and I can play right now.
Or you just bet against the Saints every week. It seems like a good idea, too.
Yeah, but I'm terrible. So not only am I a season ticket holder, and I know we suck, I'm betting on them to cover, and then I'm getting extra picks.
Come on, man. When your team stinks, that's when you just start fading them. And
I know,
if you do win, then it's a win. It's a win-win. It's like, okay, at least the team won,
Well, we were we were all talking all right, we're in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. Maybe that's what's going on. Then he started off slow. And then we're like, well, maybe, hey, for your guy at LSU, Nussmeier, they downgraded him, said he's the second best pick. So I don't know if we're tanking and trying to get the best quarterback. We got to do something, though.
I mean, there might be some options. I mean, let the thing work itself out, and hopefully the Saints find themselves a quarterback, because I do like the coach, so we'll see.
We'll see. We got to play better D.
Definitely. So for those of you that don't know Tony Ruggiero, you might be able to find him on Instagram, Twitter at the DEWSWEEPER. This guy has been on Sirius XM radio for forever for the morning show, so you may have heard him there. But how Tony and I know each other, well, Tony is he's my swing coach, been my swing coach really since senior year of college. I think, Tony. And
I think it was first week of December.
Is that right? Because I was thinking in my head, my first 3.5 years of school, I was at LSU trying to figure out, all right, am I going to play professional golf? And at the time I was just not hitting it very good, and just I had seen the amount of success that Bobby was having. Of course, he had always hit it really well. So when you've played with him enough, you're like, man, he hits it pretty straight. That sounds like a lot more fun. I've always been a pretty good putter. If I can just hit, the same amount of greens as these other guys, I actually might be pretty good at golf. So let's see if I can start hitting it straight. And so I call you up and I say, T, I want to get a lesson. Can I come see you? You're in Mobile, right? You're like, yeah, but why don't you come see me next weekend and come see me in Biloxi? And I'm like, Biloxi? He's like, yeah, we got a tournament called the Jingle Bell, and it's at Sunkist Country Club. I'll see you there before we go tee off. And I was like, yes, sir, I'll see you there. Of course, I don't know you at the time, besides just, in passing of seeing you at the golf course with Bob. And that Sunkist Country Club, man, if you've never been there, it's quite the experience.
If you have never been there, you're lucky, right? We affectionately call it TPC Sunkist. It's one of the lesser known TPC golf courses. But at the time, my best friend Wade Hamilton was the head pro director of golf there. And anyways, we've held.
Is there a better tour pro name than Wade Hamilton? By the way, that is. If you're introducing yourself as a director of golf as Wade Hamilton, that automatically elevates your game. And Wade will be happy to know I said that. But it's an all-star name.
There's very few people with worse chipping yips than Wade Hamilton, who he attests. He does attribute them to TPC Sunkist.
I was about to say, besides the golf course and its unique layout, it's a good place to go get the chipping yips.
Well, but this is the last Wade Hamilton story I will say, maybe, but Bobby Wyatt, who you talked to about earlier a few minutes ago, he came and we were working over at Santa Rosa where I was in the early days, and we were going to go play in the men's game. And Bob's like, I think he's a freshman in college at Alabama, and we're playing, and Wade's playing with us and another member, and first hole's a par 5, and Wade hits it up just short of the green in 2, and Bob's hit it in 2, but he's behind the pin. And Wade's got this little chip that's like 15, 20 feet. And Bob's standing back by his ball, and he turns to Bob and he goes, "You need to move." And Bob goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, am I in your line?" He goes, No, I might hit you. And Bob's like, "All right, really?" So he walks over a few steps. The next one looks like electricity goes through him, and this ball would have nailed Bobby in the head. And I'll never forget Wade saying, "If you fold shirts for 10 years, you'll end up chipping like that too."
It's not just the teaching pros that also got the chipping hits at Sunkist. It's many of your students that have shown up that were hitting it pretty good they chipped their way out of the game from at
Is this whole podcast going to be a list of my students that I've ruined?
No,
but we got to give a shout out to Wilson McDonald, because I do think playing in the Jingle Bell possibly could have ruined his professional career.
He striped it, man. Wilson striped it, but I don't think I ever saw him hit a chip. So, like he either chunked it or that thing was humming across the green. It was always a bit of a tough scene. There was nothing other than a bump at Sunkist for sure. No.
Hey, and last we're going. This is the most exposure.
Well, you got to talk about the lesson. You got to talk about the lesson you gave me.
Oh yeah, So. First, though, that 11th hole at Sunkist, the little par 3, that's a hard hole. And if you miss it,
Lucky jumped in the lake.
Yeah, that's the next hole right there by the tee, where he swam with the sign that said alligator.
Yeah, so there's a little sign that we saw. It said "Beware of alligators." Somehow there was a bet, and Big James as well was involved in this. A proud listener of the show, Big James. So shout out to Big James.
The general.
That's right.
I chest bumped him at Augusta one time, and I think I'm still a little sore.
Well, somehow James and Lucky hop into this lake, which this isn't like the I would say the most cleanliness of lakes I've ever seen. Like, wasn't appetizing to jump into by any means.
No.
But those two swam across it, and then after we had gotten them out of the water, we're walking back to the green or the tee. And that's where we saw the sign that said "Beware of alligator." But I've never seen the alligator there, so I don't know if that's just to keep from people from jumping in.
From toxic waste.
Or toxic waste. Maybe they've had too many guys jumping in the lake.
I just know that when Lucky walked out, he had like this glow, like there was nuclear waste on him.
Oh my gosh!
I'm probably not getting a sponsorship from.
It's a shame that this is the last year of the Jingle Bell too.
It is actually. We made that announcement actually the day you came. We worked in Montgomery last week, and so it's 25 years or so. Last one, a lot going on. I'm old now. Wade's old. We're also looking to possibly hand it off. And I want your opinion on this, but I think Tom Lovelady would be the perfect person to take over the host role of the Jingle Bell. And Wade and I have committed we will come back like Saracen and Smead and wear a button up and hit the first tee shot and then head to the casino. We don't really want to play any holes or watch anybody. But we will do that.
Dude, you'd always hit it so good, and then you'd have your first wedge shot, and you'd hit it fat every single time.
Don't bring that up. I thought I'm a good wedge player. I can drive it though, pretty good.
Oh yeah, you hit it great. So why don't we talk about fixing my driver and fixing my game on that range, and how maybe a Coors Light gave you all the right ingredients to help me get started on the right path my senior year.
Well, I mean, look, I'd seen you hit balls and watched you for years because, like, obviously during that period of time, I was teaching Bobby, and Robbie Shelton was a few years younger than you, but like I was teaching lots of high school and good young players from around the state, and I mean, I'd seen you hit plenty of balls and watched you. I think I watched you play some up at Farm Links in the state am.
That's right. I won that thing.
How about me pulling that one out, right?
I
remember that. I think in most cases, like when you're dealing with somebody talented, really good player, in college to close to out of college, like it's not like you're going to go in there and change everything. Mm-hmm. But it was more about like, what do you do really good? And like, what's one thing that keeps you from being a lot better, or like the big miss, and what can we do to eliminate it? And you and I have been friends long enough and close enough to know, like, I always err on the simple side and try to, minimize things. And that I got to say though, that like from that first lesson for about 18 months to 2 years, I mean, you did an amazing job staying on those things, and you played for a stretch of 18 months, you were one of the best players in the world. I mean, you played phenomenal golf, and you really got where you could really drive the hell out of the golf ball by keeping it simple.
Drove the out of the golf ball.
Yeah.
You're right. And what about you as a teacher? I mean, take me up to Sunkist. You obviously had an incredible. Yeah, you had an incredible.
That was the end of my career, Sunkist.
Well, just think about it. I mean, Bobby, Robbie, Shelton. I'm sure there's plenty of other guys too that
Lee Williams.
Well, I'm just thinking about Bobby and Robbie were those are some of the best juniors and amateurs in the game. But to get to that point, what tree did you come from? Because a lot of times when I'm asking, hey, what's the deal with this coach? Who did he learn from? What tree does he fall from? For you came from the Hank Johnson tree. So what type of stuff did Hank instill in you as far as teaching and just overall coaching that you still carry with you today?
Well, he was, I always tell people he saw something in me 20-some years ago I probably didn't see in myself, right? I never got into this thinking I would teach people as good as you or the guys that I teach. I just I loved golf. I loved hanging out with people, and I loved teaching. And, he helped me have the ability to do that. And, and I think that's one reason I just still, like, heck, we were in Montgomery, a few days ago, and I'm teaching a good player. I taught a bunch of regular golfers and good players. I love teaching players of all ability. But, Hank was, Hank and Wayne Flint were two just very strong influences in my teaching career, and to be part of their tree. And I've tried to pass that along to Morgan and Jackson, who do a great job. But Hank I think he was ahead of his time on the biomechanics and the TPI stuff that like everybody does now. Like, you can't go on Instagram without somebody posting a TPI or a biomechanics thing. Mm-hmm. But, Hank in the early days when I had started working for him had just done a bunch of stuff with Alabama Sports Medicine Institute downtown.
Yeah.
And he had all these videos and pictures he would show me of him and golfers in jumpsuits with these wires all over them, and they're hitting into a bay. And, he wrote a book called How to Win the 3 Games of Golf, which I still tell young teachers is great. Like, it was very much about the process of how you learn and biomechanics and how you teach body movements and body mechanics. So this thing's 30 some years old, right? And so he was ahead of his time. So I always tell folks that the info that I learned from him and the base of information I learned from him was just such a good base that kind of what I teach hasn't necessarily changed. Maybe how I approach it, how I dispense it, things I say. I certainly am way less professional at times than he would be. But the people that work for me would probably say that I'm equally as hard on. He was incredibly hard on me, and at the time I didn't understand it, but I'm very grateful for it now because it's turned out okay.
From an actual swing standpoint, Tony, Hank and Wayne,
Mm-hmm.
besides fundamentals, if you had to point to one key that they felt like was the most important part of a golf swing, what would you say?
The pivot. I think, Hank's big thing and Wayne's big thing was always the pivot, and that you don't move the outside, which is the club head with the outside, you move it from the inside, right? And the rotation of your body is what moves and delivers the club. There's so many schools of thoughts out there, and you can go on Instagram and people be yelling and cussing each other if they don't agree or whatever. I just think that there's a lot of different ways. I think the biggest challenge for me as I've gotten older is when I get a good player or any player and I don't have much success operating with what I've always done, how do I branch out of that and help the player? Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, that's the hard part. But, I always start. Hank was big with club face and pivot, and Wayne was too. I took lessons from him. I still do if I'm trying to get ready to play in something, which is the second week of December, the Jingle Bell. This is my last year. I'm trying to win it for the first time. I actually texted Bobby and asked him to come back and be my partner. So we're to be determined. He'll be a great 5 handicap.
Oh my God, I bet he would.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be winning your 9th Jingle Bell title, probably.
No, just my 3rd. I haven't had that. It's been a slump. But anyways, I always go to club face and to pivot. And you and I talked before earlier today, and I think that when it comes to dealing with a really good player, a tour player, I like to look at what they do really well instead of looking at what they do wrong.
Sure.
And I remember I did a school at Frederica with Bill Harmon. I did a couple with him, and I remember him saying that to me. We were talking about somebody, and he was like, I never forget, I was looking at something that somebody was doing wrong, and he goes, yeah, but look at all that he's doing right. And so that kind of changed my outlook. You
need to reprogram that into students and pros.
Yeah, right. And so I like to look at what a player does right. And then, I think with tour players in particular or high level players, you're trying to fix normally a bad shot or a tendency, right? And I think that teaching them is vastly different than developing a young player from 14, 15 years old to play in high-level college, to play in the tour. And I would say that that's what I enjoy doing the most, more than just teaching guys playing for a living.
And Tony, you're a top 50 teacher in the golf.com thing that just came out recently. I think I saw you around 24th, which, by the way, congrats.
Thanks, buddy.
A nod to your hard work and, of course, your persistence and how much time you put into this whole deal. But why don't you inspire somebody that's maybe listening to this? It's a coach that wants to teach tour players one day, but maybe they don't have the access to the tour players. Maybe they're trying to teach these guys. And of course, it's not easy to get the trust of any tour player to get them to help them with their golf swing. But take me back to when you were just getting started and how difficult it was for you to go from, lesson to lesson to lesson, trying to make a little bit of cash, making your way through this whole world of swing teaching. I mean, how difficult was it for you for many years?
Well, I mean, it was super, in the early days, I got a Flora-Bama hat on. I was living in, which there's a lot. Look,
we could do a whole episode on the Flora-Bama.
Well, but in the early days, I was living down in Perdido Key, and was teaching at what was called the Sportsman Golf Club then. Now it's Perdido Bay.
Okay.
And Brian Speakman was my boss, who's now he works for Mark Blackburn there at Greystone, and Brian's a great guy, great teacher, and Hank and Wayne were looking for a place for me to go teach and start learning how to teach. And I did. I taught there, and I worked in the shop and worked carts, and I was making at most $150, $200 a week. I mean, lessons were terrible. I probably should have been sued for malpractice. Yes. I had my Ford Explorer repossessed.
Oh God.
I did. I had my Ford Explorer repossessed, and one of the cool, like, you find out when you're down and out, like, cool things people do for you. And this repo man, and I don't know, I wish I had his name because we'd put him on the podcast, but he came up to the sportsman and he said, look, I got to get your car. I don't want to embarrass you at work. So if you'll meet me at the Winn-Dixie when you get off, I'll do it there. So he did. My Ford Explorer got repossessed. I had no money. And for a while, my place on Canal Road had no power.
Oh, my
Now, that's
gosh.
another story. You know how hard – I got to be careful because Yvonne's in here. But you know how hard it is to pick up chicks when you got no power?
Dude, all right. So you're telling me $150 a week. So if
$200 max. Yeah.
If you're teaching, so it's like a $15 lesson? Like what?
Yeah, I was teaching $40-$50, and I was working in the golf shop. I couldn't get anybody to come take a lesson because I didn't know what I was doing. Right?
Okay, so
and
enough lessons, much more stuff.
And I was learning,
Tell me, hold on. What about these first couple lessons? What was your worst tip you ever gave at one of these lessons that somebody looked at you and said, "What are you talking about?"
Well, I think what I learned, and this is good for, we talked about young teachers coming up, is so I'd have a student in front of me that was going to pay me, say, $40, which $40 at that time was a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
It was 10 Coors Lights plus tip, right?
Sure.
So, and a cheeseburger. So I would jump in there and I would tell them everything about their golf swing that I saw, right? And I had bought this little computer, this little NEC Daylight computer, and I had a member there help me buy this computer and camera because Wayne and Hank said I needed to have it. And that was my first thing. And I'd sit them down and I would tell them everything I saw. And, I was always pretty good at talking to people, make people have fun or whatever. But, I'll never forget a little bit down the line as I was trying to work for Hank at Sandestin, he said to me, you don't have to tell somebody everything you know about the golf swing in 11 minutes. Right. And that's what I did, though, because I was like, I really was wanting to earn that $40. I was really wanting somebody to pay. And I needed
Somebody tell you that you're smart and that your information's validated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to earn it. But what I realized is like, I was just telling somebody too much stuff, everything, trying to prove it. And I needed to,
simplify.
Yeah. And I mean, like, just kind of looking back at it is wild. And then, but that was great for me because I taught a bunch of people. And I started figuring out what worked and what didn't work. Right. Mm-hmm. And then a guy named, and then I'll get off the Flora-Bama, but I got to give him credit. But other than Big Earl, but
I was going to say,
but Joe Gilchrist, who owned the Flora-Bama at the time, he's passed away, but he sold part of it towards the end. But he took a golf lesson. They were getting ready for the mullet toss golf swing down there, which, the mullet toss is legendary.
Big weekend, right?
Yeah, huge weekend. My birthday weekend generally too, so makes it even better.
I didn't realize you changed your birth certificate to make sure your birthday fell on mullet toss weekend.
No,
just so you could tell everybody it's your birthday.
It's just one of those things, Smylie, where the stars aligned. But Joe took a golf lesson and he was asking me what I wanted to do and this, that, and the other. And I told him, I want to be a really good golf teacher. And he was one of those guys believed in dreamers and people. And, he knew I didn't have any money and I didn't have power and all that. And he gave me a card that had his name, said President of Flora-Bama. And on the back, it said good for free Coors Light and free cheeseburger. And he said, you can use this every night. All you got to do is be able to tip the bartender. Right. Okay. And he said, because he knew I didn't have any money. And so I'm telling you, Smylie, for a year, I probably ate there 6 nights a week.
Wow. No wonder when we go out to eat, you say, I'll have a Coors Light and a cheeseburger just because it's
just right. But and all he ever asked me, and my wife, Yvonne, who's in the room here, she knows, like he said, when you make it, you're doing good. Like, I want you to come back to the Flora-Bama and I want you to tip $100 or $200 to a bartender and just do it. Right. Yeah. So I've never forgotten that lesson. Never forgotten that, offer that he did. And so, I wouldn't say I've made it as I'm doing anything better than anybody else, but certainly have the ability to go down there, one, it's a reason to go down there. Like, I almost went today. I thought about going today, but I didn't know if I'd be in good shape to do this podcast.
Yeah. Well, of course, you had a ton of success along the way. You and I had an incredible run together.
Right.
Yeah, until I got in my own way a little bit with injuries and just trying to find an answer, which I think I'm not the first guy as a professional golfer ever to go try to find where the answers are. But
that's the hard part about teaching pros.
Yeah. And I guess I'll lead it into this, which is, how much have you learned from, when we're on that range at Sunkist and you give me that first lesson to where you are today, how challenging it can be to teach a touring pro. We have our own ideas of our golf swing. We have our own ideas of ball flight. And, sometimes it works out great where, there's a player that gets matched up with a coach. Mm-hmm. He calls them, they have all the success. And the next thing, all these players are going to call this coach. And next thing it's not working out for all these players. And, it's a really interesting business because a lot of these players are always just looking to find success, and they look at the players who have the success. And it's just sometimes very, very challenging for players to find the right coach, especially when they didn't make it, when they make it to the professional game, the most time it's with somebody. And then after that, it turns into pinball.
I have a hypothesis. I think that's the word I'm trying to use here. Okay. But, I think that people in the golf world, teachers, players, mirror what the best player in the world does. Okay. And, for Tiger always, Tiger was one of those that always, he was the best in the world at one thing, and then he had to have a challenge and go change. But you look at Scott, he's clearly the best in the world now, right? And what he's doing amazing. And he's been with the same person, Randy, who's brilliant and is a genius, and by the way, loves Coors Light. And I've had a couple with him, been with him forever. I think that maybe and hopefully we see a trend because of Scotty's success where young players coming up understand that change isn't always good and bouncing around isn't always good, and having somebody that understands your golf swing and has been there for you for a long time will be good. And I'm seeing that actually in some younger players. And I think that would be good for the game. I really do.
Has there been any other high-level coaches that you took advice from when either you had myself coming up or any other good players that you, got a piece of advice that you still carry with you today?
Yeah. I've been lucky. Bunches of the great teachers took an interest in me and liked me. But I remember one time talking on the phone. It was about you. Cam McCormick and I were talking on the phone. And
it's Jordan Spieth's coach for anybody that's
great guy, right? Yeah. Dallas, Texas.
Great guy.
And he said chip shots going nuts, by the way.
He's still kicking, by the way. Chip shots 15 years old. That's what I just found out the other day.
We ought to do a birthday celebration. But Cam said it's always better to underreact than overreact. Right. And I'll never forget
to what?
Anything, to everything in golf. Right.
This is on the range. Anything.
I think as a player, I always use that with a player. I had a young player today that's his freshman year at Duke, super good player, good recruit, got his first year at Duke, didn't play great in qualifying. This is like his first stretch away from home where he can't just go get a lesson whenever he needs it. And I said, don't overreact and start trying to change things. You just played a bad qualifying, right? It doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong. It just means you didn't do it great or there's other factors. But I think that in this world that we're in now with all the social media, and I contribute to it too with all the stuff I put out there on on Instagram. Everybody's looking for the piece of information that's going to make them a Masters champion or get a tour card. I think in the end, there really isn't that piece of information. I just don't. I think it's having a good plan, having people around you can trust. And then in the end, it's the player that does it. I think we get a lot, and I've benefited from it too, but we get too much credit when a player plays good, and we probably get too much blame when a player plays bad.
All right. So if you're a player or a student listening to this and you're trying to figure out how to get better at golf, and maybe you don't have the technology that all these tour players have to be able to go get, an expensive lesson to figure out, hey, this is what all my 3D stuff is showing me. This is where, how my pressure is moving in the ground. What would be the best way to simplify the game besides just going to get a basic lesson with fundamentals to really start improving without all the technology that's available?
So what kind of player are you talking about here?
I would say like somebody that plays 10 to 20 times a year, doesn't have the time to necessarily put the work into it, but are they can go out and shoot mid 80s.
Yeah, I think the first thing you ought to do is, if you could learn to get balanced at address and set up correctly, and then just monitor the things you can control, and wherever the ball is when you hit it good, whatever that place is, like, figure that out and practice that. I think the biggest thing I see, I remember my days at the Country Club of Mobile, and I'd be on the back end of the range, and I'd drive down and I'd watch folks, or at Old Palm, I'll stick my head out of the building and do the same thing. And you'll see golfers hitting balls, and every shot, their feet are angled a little different, balls in a little different place. And they're like, the swing really doesn't change very much, but they're very haphazard in how they approach it. And I would tell, just say somebody that shoots mid to low 80s, you've probably already got some pretty good stuff in there. If you figured out how to get to that point, especially the folks that get where they shoot low 80s and every now and then throw in a 78 or 9, I would say, figure out what you do and what you're doing when you hit it good. Like, we all have these phones now, so you can film yourself when you're hitting it good, and figure out, what do you look like at address? Get balanced at address. Get the ball in the same spot. Fix your aim. Those types of things. I think just taking care of, the details that happen before you swing are the biggest things for golfers that are in that range you're talking about.
That's a great piece of advice. But what about for you when you're going to showing up with a new tour pro that maybe you've seen them have tons and tons of success? Have you ever showed up to one of these lessons and felt stressed out about, oh my gosh, how is this thing going to go? I think I recall that you gave, was it a lesson to Bill Haas at some point? I know you worked with Bill for a while.
Yeah.
Was his dad Jerry ever around watching at these lessons?
Jay.
Sorry, was Jerry Haas? Is that a brother?
His brother. That's Jay's brother. He's the Wake Forest coach.
That's right, Jerry. Okay, I was like, why did that just come to my brain? Because I know Jerry Haas.
I gave Bill a few lessons before, maybe 2, 3, and then it was time for RSM down there at Sea Island. I was at Frederica at the time, and Bill came and Jay watched, and Bill had grown up working with his dad, who's, in my opinion, this is a side bit, but I think Jay should be a Hall of Famer. His career making cuts and all those decades. So
many cuts. Gosh.
Unbelievable. And when him and Bill made the cut at Zurich a few years ago, he made it, I think it's 5 decades he's made a cut on the PGA Tour.
Insane.
Right?
Insane.
And, you look at how he's competed in majors over the year, and he was a President's Cup captain. But anyways, Bill took a lesson. It came to Frederica and Jay watched, and Jay had always taught him, and so had Bill Harmon, who Bill and his brothers, the Harmon family are idols of mine that have been nice to me and I look up to. But, so I saw Jay sitting back there filming things I was doing. I'm sure he was texting it to Billy, and I was nervous as hell. And, but it was like, what's the miss? And for him, it was the driver. Driver wasn't very good. And I'll never forget, we got to the end, and, we got to the end of the lesson, and Jay didn't speak the whole hour and a half. I'm telling you, he never said a word. And then at the end, he hit 5 drivers, kind of piped them right out there. There was that tree down the left center of the Frederica range, and kind of hit it off them. And Jay just said, "I would do that." That's all he said. And I was like, all right, I guess we're okay. Right. But yeah, I was nervous. That was probably the most nervous I've been during a lesson, because one, one, he's a gentleman. He's just like a great guy. Bill, but Jay.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got his driver, by the way. That's another story. And but great guy, unbelievable career, loves the game, knowledgeable about it. And then he's worked with and been taught by the Harmon family, Billy, his whole career. You're like, I just don't want to embarrass myself here. You know, I mean, if I pull one of these funky words out, try to dazzle them, they're not going to like.
Oh my gosh. Hey, you mentioned Billy Harmon, who taught Bill for a bit, but of course, I think a lot of people know Butch. You know, Butch, his history in teaching, and just
He's
a legend in this industry. He is the GOAT. You've spent some time around Butch. What do we not know about Butch that maybe you've got an inside look at, spending some time around just his teaching and just his overall personality?
Look, I've been fortunate. I think I've gone 6, 7, 8, 9 times. Used to go out once a year. That was kind of like my treat to myself, to ask to go out and observe him. And he was super gracious and would let me hang out and watch a 2-day school that he was doing with just regular golfers, which I found fascinating to watch him teach a regular golfer. Right. And, each time he'd get to know you more or whatever. But, and the cool thing was always at the end for me, he would always let me come into his office and pull out videos of players I taught. And he would tell me what I think. I can remember him. I've shown him Emilio Gonzalez's video. I've shown him Rick Lamb's. I've shown him yours. I've shown different guys, Robbie Shelton, over the years, and just getting his input. But again, I always watched when he would look at video. Like,
yeah, what's he look at?
I would always watch
down. Is he doing fast?
Like, I would always watch where his eyes went first, right? Like, what were the things he looked at? But again, kind of, I think it would go back to what I said earlier about, like, he was always, he was always fixing what the main problem was, right? He never got wrapped up in any form or fashion of, like, the effects or the symptoms. Like, you'd look at a video and regular people would see all this crazy stuff going on, and he wouldn't seem to ever look at it. He'd find the one thing that caused all that to happen. And I always thought it was amazing how good he was at that. And then I would just say, but I think his greatest gift, and probably why he's been so great with so many great players, is his ability to communicate,
get guys confident, man. That's what everybody always said was, you go for a lesson with Butch and you leave more confident because he convinces you that you should be playing to this level.
Yeah.
And he's tough. He's, from what I understand, from what the guys have told me, he's generally fairly tough on guys. He's doesn't like a weak-minded player to come in.
No.
He wants strong-minded players that believe in themselves and want to play at the highest level.
I would agree. From what I've watched him teach one tour player one time. But yeah, I would say he's really tough on them. But because of that, I think when he tells you how good you are, you believe how good you are.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's not afraid to tell you that you're weak or you're a wuss or whatever. Like, just need to sack up and play better. Right? I mean, that's the feeling I get. Right? But I think that his gift is his ability to communicate, and then his ability to, his ability to pick. He calls it the cancer when he talks to these people. He's like, I want to go in and take the cancer out of your golf. What's the one thing causing everything to go wrong? And he's a genius at that. I mean, he's maybe the best, or probably he is the best ever at doing it.
It makes me think about this too, because with what you just said about Butch and how he can identify, that one, or, if it's maybe a second thing that needs to be fixed, and just that, it's not a certain way to swing the golf club. It's just how this person swings it. We need to fix this, and then you're going to start hitting it better. And I see too often now in how the golf swing is taught, that many teachers, and right or wrong, there's plenty of teachers that are very right in the way they teach their stuff. And I'm not saying they are wrong. It's that maybe the best teacher of all time doesn't teach it a certain way. He might believe in certain principles, but maybe doesn't believe that everybody has to swing the golf club like Tiger Woods, or has to swing the golf club like Tommy Fleetwood or Gary Woodland. Everybody swings the golf club uniquely. Now, they have certain matchups that are important to make the ball go straight. But from your perspective of just observing maybe how in this day and age, everybody kind of wants to have their way to put their footprint or their swing print, if you will, on what the expectation is of a player when they show up, of like, hey, you're going to show up and you're going to start swinging it like this guy that I have on my Instagram, or whatever you want to call it. Is it easy to get kind of caught in that for teachers these days with that whole philosophy?
I think so. I think that there's teachers out there that are great and have done a great job. But I would say this. I would say that one of the things I'm most proud of in my career is I've certainly had success, and I've made some guys have runs that play good. Certainly you're one of the best. I don't think you'll ever have a player that you would interview that said I messed them up or I made them worse. Right. And I know there's been guys, Bill Haas would be one that I don't think I did as good as I could have. I wish I could have done a little better job because he's such a great guy.
Is it more of like, so is it just identifying that cancer in the golf?
Yeah, I think
quicker?
so. And I mean,
like
I think
you would have been like, man, I wish I would have done that first.
Like with Bill, I just would say, like, I just wish I would have been able to push him to do more and get him to do, but like, and done a better job of figuring things out. I just didn't do as good a job for whatever reason. And I'm okay saying like, hey, I just didn't do it. But I do think that there's teachers out there in this world that we're talking about where, right or wrong, like they want you to know when you watch that player that they've taught them based on the things they do, whether it's a training aid they use or whatever, right? Where everything's the same. And I would say that, like, if you look at a bunch of the players I've taught over the years and you put up like all their videos, if you went from like you and Bobby and Robbie and Lucas and Bill, and you look at all of them, they all swung different, right? But they've all had periods that they played some really damn good golf. And so, I think that's a danger of where we are in golf, whereas the teacher starts thinking, I guess it's because there's so much money in it now, right? Like, I mean, let's face it, right? With whether it's the tour or live and all that, I think that teachers, like every other business, we want to put something out there that makes it look like we've got something different or we've got something better than everybody. And, I think there are people that I think in general, we all probably have access to most of the same information now.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, with this phone we've got and AI and all the science out there. I mean, we can all figure stuff out. It's how can we motivate, communicate, and get somebody to play better. All
right. Well, can you help me get 3 of these players that sent in some videos to start hitting a little better? Charlie, if you're awake, Charlie, ding dong, wake up. If you're there,
I'm missing Charlie right now. This like middle screen is black.
Well, Charlie, if you're there, we need Lee McCav. I can't pronounce his last name. McCavanagh. All right, this guy actually seems like he stripes it to me, T.
He's got a nice backyard.
Yeah, look at this setup. It's nice here. Walk me through what you see.
All right, so go back, Charlie. Go back to address.
I think it's gonna loop.
Okay.
Oh, he's got that thing. No, he's got a little.
First thing I would do would sharpen his posture a little. I'd get a little more hip hinge. I think his butt's tucked under him a little bit and his shoulders are rounded. Do we know anything about his handicap?
Based on his golf swing, he seems like a single digit handicap.
Yeah, I would agree just based on the backswing.
All right, let's keep it rolling. I mean, the club just goes right through his hands on the way back.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty right there. It's nice.
Looks like he gets his chest through. I mean, on the
he
face
does.
He's
one of the not rare ones, but like I would love to see a face on of his.
Yeah.
And if he listens and watches this, he reaches out on Instagram and sends me a face on. I'll help him. But just the way the front of his left foot comes up off the ground going through kind of makes me think he doesn't get enough pressure over there. Smylie, you could watch this too. Because see, watch here. Watch how the left foot kind of twists up off. I feel like he doesn't get enough pressure into his left foot out of the top. And that's kind of why that foot comes off at the end. And then, he may struggle to control it a little bit. But man, that's a good golf swing.
It's still a lot of really good stuff. I see just how the club is pretty much parallel to his target at the top of the swing. Mm-hmm. And from there, just the weight of the club, it just shallows just perfectly out of the top, gets right on that right arm.
This guy's got to be good.
Yeah. He definitely could be a Jingle Bell candidate based on what I'm seeing here.
If he's got a 12, he needs to reach out to me. But I do think, I would say just based on the look of that, I would bet he needs to get a little more pressure into his left or shift or get onto his left a little more out of the top. Because, if I watch it right as it comes down here, his hips turn pretty quick out of the top. Doesn't look like there's a lot of shift into the left.
He looks like a fader to me, too. It looks like his miss would be left.
Yeah, I could see that. But that would be my instinct without seeing the other view.
All right, Lee. Well, there you go. There's a free lesson. How about Golf Club Enjoyer? This is the problem with Twitter, is that these people don't have their names associated with their Twitter accounts.
Golf Club Enjoyer.
Golf Club Enjoyer. So that's his Twitter handle. I don't know who you are, but happy to have you. And let's take a look at your action.
This guy looks good.
Help this guy. You can help this guy. He kind of gets. I think he gets a little off. So you tell me what you see.
What do we know about him? Nice range, though.
That he likes going to the golf club. He really enjoys it.
I asked for that. I'm out of wine here, too. I may have to send it on.
This is what I see, T. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. I think this thing gets chaotic right from the get-go on this takeaway.
Yeah, I don't like that twist off the ball.
Looks like to me he needs to do a little bit better of a job. Can you go a little slow on just the takeaway here, Charlie? See, watch this here. It looks like he just gets disconnected. Arms get off of his pivot a little bit.
I don't like a club getting in a little like that, and then run a few more frames. Keep going. Right there, I feel like his right arm starts getting behind him a little. Keep going.
Starting to sound like this sounds like my breakdown here,
Tony. Well, and I also feel like go back to the bottom at the start and then bring it back again. Sorry, Charlie, making you work here. Yeah, he's another one. I mean, I hate to say this, I'd love to see a face on view. Feels like he twists a little more than he loads. I'd love to see him learn the face is a little shut at the top by the way he takes it away. I'd love to get him to get that club a little more outside his hands, hinge the club a little more up on top of his right forearm, and I'd love to get the club a little better at the top where it's not shut.
Tell me, T, wouldn't this be like a good case of just putting a towel underneath your arms here? This is like a classic case of just getting the beginning part of the golf swing to just kind of be matched up, having your arms connected to your chest that first bit.
Yeah, and he'd be another one that could do kind of like where you put the aiming stick in directly on the target line and learn to hinge it up the plane and not let the face get so twisted. Right there. Go back.
Wait, what do you mean? Where do you put the alignment stick? You put it behind you?
Behind you in the ground and on the shaft plane. See, there, that club, he's just stuck with his elbow behind him. I just think he's got to get that club to hinge more up in front of him.
Get the backswing. Fix the backswing.
Fix the backswing so he's better.
Mm-hmm. Is that pretty much the way you teach, though? If you fix the backswing from there, then from there you can kind of work through some stuff? As
a general rule with good players, good athletes, and I did learn this, I think, with one of the, was either Butch or Billy or whatever, Hank, all of them have said the same thing. With good players, I think you fix it before it gets to the top, and then their athletic ability will make them figure it out on the way down. I think sometimes with higher handicaps and beginners, you kind of teach them how to go through and to do some stuff. But like this guy here looks like, he's a good athlete. I'd get that club better going back.
Yeah.
I'd get that club hinged up a little more. I don't think he knows how to hinge and set the club. I think he twists it rather than kind of sets it correctly. And that club gets a little behind him and his right arm gets behind him. Let me watch.
There's no telling what he's going to change his Twitter handle to after he gets his swing lesson from you. He's already enjoying golf club. It could be, you could change
DEWSWEEPER Jr.
DEWSWEEPER Jr. There you go. All right. Well, we got one more too. All right. Chad Moore, MOHR.
You got to like a guy putting his real name. I mean, I'm assuming it's his real name.
Chad's only issue is that he plays from the wrong side of the ball.
Oh, I love lefties. I've had a rash of them lately.
Okay.
All right, let's slow this one down.
Yeah. So initial thoughts here is that takeaway looked good. Hands way high at the top and extended.
Keep going.
Good takeaway.
See, I would teach him to fold his left arm more. I think his left arm doesn't fold, and that's why the club gets lifted higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
His trail arm. His trail arm.
Yeah, trail arm. Right.
That's like Lucky, man. Lucky gets that left arm like that too.
Let me tell you what Lucky can do is shotgun a beer. I saw one. If you want to play better golf, shotgun a beer.
That's right. We should get your swing juices flowing.
See, because he gets super high.
Hey, we're all having kids now, T. We're growing up.
I'm sorry. I'm where I was. But you see how the club gets under then?
I see you get under and behind.
Right, and I think that's all a function of his trail arm going back. I think go run it.
All right, so where would you fix the
Charlie, go
folding?
halfway back, halfway waist high. Right there. So now one more click up. See, I think his left arm should start folding there more, right? Yeah. And now let it go another click. See, I don't think his left arm's folding any.
So if you had a face-on view, his arms would look really, really straight. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think that happens from a lot of people that don't want to get it inside or around, and they've been told to take it straight
in front of you.
And they do that, and they don't learn to hinge their wrist correctly or fold their trail arm. I do think like that, if you're looking for a training aid for that, I think that Pro Sender is good for that. Like learning to hinge your hands a little bit.
The one that's you put on the trail.
I think that's probably pretty good. Yeah.
All right, Chad, you got it. You got to go to Amazon and get the stuff.
Really, what everybody needs is a pivot pack. We hadn't even got into that yet.
Yeah, what comes in the pivot pack?
You've got the knee band, which I use all the time to stabilize lower body. People see it on the Instagram, and you've got a stretchy loop band that's like 15 pounds of tension that you can use for a variety of things. And then you've got a slider that you can use for different exercises. And our good friend, I know, who's been a huge teaching influence on me, Colby Touye, who I know how much time you've spent with him.
He's been on the show.
Yeah. And Colby and I created it because of all the work we do together. And we kept, we'd use something in the bay, and then a guy would go, well, where do I get that? We'd pull up on Amazon, here, do this. It was the same three basic things, and we put them in a pack, and then we imported them from China. We're hoping the tariffs don't affect the DEWSWEEPER. If Trump listens to this, could he exempt the pivot pack? But
would that give him an exemption to the Jingle Bell at the same time?
Trump could win the last Jingle Bell if he entered.
I tell you what, it seems like he'd be actually a good partner with. He seems like he wins every event he plays, and maybe that's just because.
Maybe I should ask. I don't know. Maybe I should ask him.
But you're down in South Florida teaching him. You might run into him.
I could. But anyways, pivot pack's great. Got exercises and drills from me and Colby. You've used the knee band and the stretchy band. We've used stuff.
I mean, it's interesting. I think this is the end of this conversation that I want to kind of talk about, which is the learning aspect. We've talked about the body motion and all the 3D technology that a teacher can have at their disposal to help their students. And let's say somebody like me, I know a lot about the golf swing. I know a lot about my golf swing. I know way too much. But here's the question I have is that for somebody that has hit thousands and thousands of golf balls and you're giving me a lesson and hey, you see as a teacher that we got to find a way to change this motor pattern. I think back to this often all the time, thinking about Tiger Woods, how often he would try to change motor patterns. And a lot of people didn't know what he was talking about when he's talking about motor patterns. Like, what does that even mean? And how do you change a motor pattern? Well, you can make something look different on camera, but when the gun goes off, for the most part, those motor patterns that are ingrained come back. And that's been the trickiest part for me. And I call you about it all the time, is how can you change a motor pattern, not only physically, but the mental part? I think that's the most difficult thing to change for players that have a certain tendency that always goes awry when they get into competition.
So I think that you have to understand, and again, this goes back to my upbringing. You know, Hank was big on this, and you read about it in his book, and obviously with Wayne. But then Colby was a huge influence on how you teach movement patterns and body movement. And then I met this, I met this scientist, neuroscientist up in Philly that I teach, Dr. Bonacore, and don't laugh at me just because I'm hanging out with a scientist.
I don't know. You hanging out with Italian hanging out with a doctor.
but anyways, he's given me lots of, we've become friends, and we'll have a drink of beer after a lesson, which I know surprises you, but he's given me lots. We spoke to the Golf Magazine Teaching Summit about it, and it was, he's helped me understand how to help people learn. But basically, when you go full speed, full motion with a ball and a club, you go into performance mode. I mean, it's what you know how to do. It's no different than if Spencer Rattler threw me a ball right now, I would just react and catch it, probably better than some of the Saints, right? So anyways, but I would just react. I wouldn't stick my hands out, open my fingers or whatever. And it's the same when you get under intense pressure and you're under the gun, you're going to go back to what your body and your brain knows how to do. So you have to replace and learn new movement patterns. And
does it happen with time? Like how do you engrave it?
It takes time, but you have to do it. The best way to reprogram, best way to do it's without a ball and without a club, because there's no anticipation of result. You're not trying to perform a task. So doing stuff in a mirror or with a band, slow motion is, reprograms you. So we do.
What about Rory McIlroy's recent swing change that he made last offseason? He went on to say, I basically locked myself in a simulator room that gave me no ball fight feedback.
That's why
I tried to work on this change.
It's the same thing, because when you go out there on a range and you're worried about where it goes, there's
always correcting. It's
always correcting. You're always reacting to the last shot. You're always reacting to the last shot. So if you turn that off, you've got a chance to make a change. And Dr. Bonacore, he told me this great analogy that I use all the time. I think I said it to you the other day, but it's like if we're up north and we have a big snowstorm and the plow comes through, it has to go real slow and it pushes the snow and then it turns off and then all the cars behind it can go fast until it snows more. Then you got to plow again. Well, if you go real slow and you do real slow repetitions and maybe you just chip one out or you do it in the mirror or you use a band and you do, say, 10 of them, and then you put a ball down, those next 4 or 5 are the closest you can do it to the new way because your brain's still firing, right? But then it snows more and you've got to go back and you've got to do those drills. So I think, for me as a teacher, trying to figure out, because I've always felt like our information was pretty good. We've had guys get decent. Like, how can we help people get better faster, retain it more, improve the learning process? Some of that stuff's been fascinating to me. But I think and again, it goes like the pivot pack. We joke about it, but like doing things in a mirror, doing things at home. Colby's been huge on that since I give you all the credit. Everybody always asks, how'd you meet Colby? I was like, well, Smylie was like, come over to
great team, man. Great
I thought I was just going to Baton Rouge to have a bunch of beers and a hot dog. I ended up, changing the way I teach. But, and he would come to Mobile and meet you and I there under that green tent we had at the time.
Sure.
And, but, I would be trying to get you to do something, and he would take you over in the corner and have you do an exercise without a club, without a ball, do something, and then you'd come in and you'd hit the next 5, and bam, 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 they'd be good. Yeah. Right. And, that was kind of how his and I relationship started as far as watching him was like, well, if you have somebody that can help you learn to move the body different without the club, and they develop a feel for it, and they develop an understanding of how to do it, then you put the club in the hand. It's easier to do it than trying to learn to do a new movement with a club and expect a different outcome.
So you're saying for the most part, when you're trying to break a motor pattern, if you have time to go hit balls, let's say you have an hour, let's say, to hit golf balls, how of that hour would you say how much of that is, full speed where you can actually hit full shots? Would you say when you're trying to really make a change, would you spend more than 50% at a slower speed?
See, I think if you're trying to go make a change and get better, I think you want to have a practice plan. And I like ball counts because I think that, like, you're a perfect example. And don't get mad when I say this, but we've had many a range session that has started out great and we hit balls till we hit it shitty. Did we not? I can pick 2 in particular.
It would be plenty of lessons where we're absolutely, like nothing. There's been no red flags striping it, and I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna try to hit this 3-wood low cut, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, why can't I hit this low cut? It's because it's a really hard shot to hit, man. Like you don't need to be able to.
and I think that like players. So I've got to do one for Emilio actually tonight or tomorrow. But like I think if you go out there with a ball count and you say, and I'm going to basically tell you his, like you're going to hit 20 balls. Half speed, where you do this drill where you make sure the face is square and then you turn it to the top, right?
Yeah.
And film it, make sure it's good. When you've hit those 20 balls with that, you're done. Then you're going to hit 20 balls with your rope down and the stick out there, and you're going to try to start it to the right and draw it so that you don't get a little too – your path stays where we want it. But then you're going to hit 20 balls where you hit a different club at a different target each shot, and you can't miss it. You're going to alternate where you can't miss it right or you can't miss it left of the flag.
Yeah. Now that's golf. Now it's golf.
That's
stuff.
what you got to do, right? Yeah. And I think that when I'm as guilty as anybody, players are guilty. We get out there working, and then we always, keep work. We can keep hitting and working on things until we lose focus. We're not as engaged, and we hit a couple bad shots, and we judge the whole day based on those 2 shots. And so I think if you go with a ball count, you're very focused on those 20 balls. Like any of us can go for 20 balls and focus exactly on what we're doing. And when we're done with them, we're done, right? And you do 3 stacks of 20. If you did that, that'd be 60 balls. You took your time. That'd probably be an hour and 15-minute practice, which, you've been on the range. So we've been together so many tour events. Like most guys aren't hitting balls for more than an hour. If they are, they're not going to make the cut, and it doesn't matter. Right?
How easy is it for you to figure out who's playing well, who isn't playing well?
Who's there late on Wednesday? Who's there late on Wednesday? It's my favorite thing to do at an Open Championship because gambling's legal over there. Is walk on the range at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, see who's out there, and then go to the little booth and hit miscut.
See, not only are you getting great swing tips and good golf advice here on this evening show here with my man, the DEWSWEEPER, but you're also getting good life advice. If you ever go to the Open Championship, which I will always say, you've been not only a golf coach, but you've been a great life coach over the years, T. It's been a damn good run, man, and we got a lot more years in us.
We've had fun. Nobody's ever going to say we didn't have fun doing it.
That is right. Well,
and I've learned lots of good music too. I was thinking today when I was thinking of the stories, we had a couple good songs. I remember driving through the gate of Augusta with one of those rap songs, and I don't even have it anymore. But you educate me.
That'd be Little Boozy. Little Boozy. That's a big Louisiana thing, man. I'm sure they play that at many Saints games. You probably just have no clue it's Little Boozy.
Yeah, I didn't know who he is.
Yeah, probably first time it's ever been played on the grounds of Augusta, but hey, we had to bring the energy, man.
we changed it up a little.
Hey, if you're going to only play one Masters, you got to go in there. You got to do it right.
Exactly.
All right, buddy. Well, make sure
Appreciate you, bud.
that I'll see you soon. And
See you soon. Thanks for having me.
And I guess I forgot to tease this. We got an episode with a lesson that we did earlier this year down in Florida. So if you want to watch Tony and I in action, that episode is going to be on the YouTube. So make sure you tune into that. And also, Charlie gets a lesson from Tony. So that's also a little nugget that you get to tune into.
Bonus time.
Some bonus content. So yeah, that was a great day at Old Palm. I look forward to many more lessons, T. So I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, always, buddy. Appreciate
I'll
you.
See you soon. Thanks, Steve.
See you, buddy. Bye.
You know, I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our local fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too. So please keep it up.
For all the good people at YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the